Okay, so let's begin. In the last class, in the last lectures, we have discussed about Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha. In the Rajya Sabha, we have discussed first the composition of Rajya Sabha, the manner of election of members of Rajya Sabha, manner of election of members of Rajya Sabha, election of members of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha. We have discussed also the qualification, we have discussed disqualification and the grounds of disqualification. We have discussed that a member of a parliamentarian or member of parliament can be disqualified on the grounds mentioned in constitution. So there are 3 grounds mentioned in the constitution. We have discussed about all these things. Then under Representatives of People's Act 1951, there are many grounds mentioned in Representatives of People's Act 1951 and the anti-defection law, anti-defection law. So these are the things that are mentioned, that these are the places where the grounds of disqualification has been mentioned. Now we have to discuss about the criticism, why Rajya Sabha is criticized, criticism of Rajya Sabha. We have to discuss the special powers of Rajya Sabha. What are the special powers that are available only to the Rajya Sabha? Then we have to discuss the relevance of Rajya Sabha, whether Rajya Sabha is relevant today or not, or whether it should be abolished. So relevance of Rajya Sabha. So these things we have to discuss. So we have to discuss all these things. Okay. So first we will talk about the special powers of Rajya Sabha. Then second we will talk about the criticism. And after that we will talk about the relevance of Rajya Sabha, whether Rajya Sabha should be abolished or not. So should Rajya Sabha be abolished or should it continue? So what are the, should it continue? What is the position? What is the pros and cons? What is the aspect? Whether Rajya Sabha should be abolished or Rajya Sabha should not be abolished. So should it continue? So these things we'll talk about in the relevance of Rajya Sabha. But let's start. So before talking about the special powers of Rajya Sabha, special powers of Rajya Sabha, let me give you 2-3 more important points regarding Rajya Sabha. And first important points, so let me tell you some important points with respect to, that is with regards to Rajya Sabha. So the first important point is regarding double membership, and not only Rajya Sabha. These points are in general applicable to all Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, or State Legislative Assembly or State Legislative Council. So double membership. What is the provision? The provision is that no legislator shall hold double membership. No legislator shall hold double membership. Okay. So no legislator shall hold double membership. What do you mean by it? You at the same time you can't be the member of parliament along with the member of state legislature. First thing. So at the same time, you can't be an MP and along with an MLA. So you can't be the single person cannot be a member of parliament along with a member of state legislature. So this is the first point. Second point is that even in parliament also you cannot hold two seats or you cannot represent two constituencies at the same time. So no representation of two constituencies. Representation of two constituencies simultaneously. Two constituencies simultaneously. Though a contestant or a representative, a contestant to election can contest election. A person can contest election from two constituencies. Can contest election from two constituencies in the same election. From two constituencies in the same election. But he cannot represent, after winning the election, he cannot represent both the constituencies, so that yes, I have won both the constituencies, election in both the constituencies, so now I will represent both the constituencies at the same time. No, he cannot represent two constituencies at the same time. He has to make a choice. He or she has to make a choice, and one has to resign from one of the constituencies and can represent only one constituency. So this is the thing, that yes, you can contest election from two constituencies in the same election, and you can even win also if you are good. So you can win also, but you cannot go on representing both the constituencies for 5 years, or you cannot. You have to make a choice, and within 6 months you have within the convening of the Lok Sabha or convening of the House, first convening of the House, you have to make a choice whether you want to represent which one. Suppose, and you know that in the 2019 election itself, Prime Minister Modi, he also contested the election from two places. One, Vadodara. In 2014 elections, he contested from both the places, in Vadodara and in Gujarat, and one in Varanasi in UP. In the same, you know that Mr. Rahul Gandhi, he also contested from two places. One at Amethi, his main place, Amethi in UP, and one in Wayanad in Kerala. So there are innumerable examples that where people contested election from two constituencies, and even subsequently some of the people, they won both the constituencies also. So, such as Prime Minister Modi won both the constituencies, but he later resigned from the Vadodara constituency and he went on to represent for the 5 years Varanasi constituency. So this is the thing that we have to take in mind, that yes, you can contest election from two constituencies in the same election. You can win subsequently also, but you cannot go on representing both the constituencies at the same time in for the next 5 years or for the whole term of the year. So this is the thing, that double membership is not allowed in the Indian parliament system or Indian election. So this is the thing. Yes, contestant is allowed. You can contest two constituencies at the same time. So this is the thing, that no legislator shall hold double membership, and at the same time you cannot be a member of. At the same time, you cannot be a member of, you can say, state legislature also, along with the parliament also. So this is the thing. For example, you know that UP Chief Minister, UP CM, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, before getting appointed as Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, he was an MP from Gorakhpur. He was an MP, that is, he was a Lok Sabha MP from Gorakhpur. But when he was appointed as Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, UP CM, he has to resign. He has to resign from his office of as a member of parliament, and he has to take the membership of UP State Legislative Assembly. So State Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council, because if you are a Chief Minister, you have to be because you have to represent the State Council of Ministers, so you have to be the member of either of the houses of the UP Assembly or either of the houses of the State Legislative Assembly. Okay. And one more thing is that you cannot be, if you are the member of State Legislative Assembly, you cannot be the member of, you can say, Parliament simultaneously at the same time. So this is the thing. Now let's come to the next thing that we have to talk about. So the next thing or next ground of disqualification is that even a parliamentarian. So second important point with respect to, you can say, ground of disqualification that I have to tell you was that a house can declare, here house means you can say the chairperson of the house, the chairperson of a house can declare the seat of a legislator vacant if the legislator is absent from all its meetings for a period of 60 days without any prior notice or permission. So this is a provision that a chairperson, whether he may be speaker or whether he may be the chairperson of Rajya Sabha, like Lok Sabha speaker or chairperson of Rajya Sabha, like chairperson of State Legislative Council or speaker of State Legislative Assembly, can declare the seat of a legislator in the house, in a particular house, vacant. That is, that member can be automatically removed. Here vacant means he shall stand automatically removed if the legislator is absent from all its meetings for a period of 60 days, and without that too, without any prior notice or permission. So this is the thing that we have to keep in mind. Third provision is that a member of parliament or a legislator can resign from his post, from his or her membership of the house at any point of time, within the tenure, within his or her tenure, So this is the prerogative, or this is the power given to, or this is the choice rather, has been given to the legislator, that he can resign from his membership or her membership of the house at any point of time. But there is a catch, or there is a condition. What is the condition? The condition is that the speaker is not bound. The speaker, as I have told already also, that the speaker is not bound to accept his or her resignation. This is the thing, that the speaker can reject The speaker can reject the resignation sitting, that is giving the you can say excuse of sitting or citing Sorsian, that you are resigning from your office, your membership due to forceful, due to someone's force, so Sorsian, or poaching, that you have been poached by any other political party, so poaching, Sorsian, poaching, or ill will, that is bad intention, that is you can say in bad faith, that your resignation is in bad faith, in bad faith, that is malified intention, that is malified intention, bad faith, malified intention. So this is the special power, discretionary power given to the speaker, that the speaker or the chairperson at any point of time, if some legislator you can say tenders his resignation or her resignation to him, he can reject, he is not bound to accept the resignation of the member of the any house. So this is the thing that we have to keep in mind. But you know that I have told that in case of disqualification, in case of disqualification, whether it may be disqualification under a constitution, under the grounds mentioned under the constitution, or representatives of people's act, that is tendered to the president, that is decided by the president. And in case of anti-defection law, so in case of a resignation or in case of a removal, okay, under constitution or the grounds mentioned under constitution or representatives of the people's act, I had told that the report of chief election commissioner or the election commission, central election commission, is binding on the president, while in case of binding on president cannot refuse to accept the report and cannot refuse to remove the guilty legislator or the violator or the legislator that has violated the provisions of the constitution or representatives of people's act and some other provisions. While in case of anti-defection law, also the speaker has been given discretion, whether he may or may not you can say remove the legislator if he feels that he has not violated the anti-defection law, he may not. And that too, if he has violated, there is no time limit, as we have discussed earlier, that there is no time limit within which the speaker had to take a call or the speaker has to take a decision. So this is the thing that we have to keep in mind, and these are the things, these are some of the provisions that I wanted to tell you that are related to qualification or disqualification or the powers of a speaker or the procedure of removal of the legislators. Now let's come to our main topic, that was for today's topic, and that was, so for today's topic was, you can say first we have to talk about the special powers of Rajya Sabha, special powers of Rajya Sabha, the special powers of Rajya Sabha. So what are the special powers of Rajya Sabha? First, the special power given under Article 312. So what are the special power given under Article 312 to the Rajya Sabha? That Rajya Sabha, by a special resolution, by passing a special resolution, or a resolution, special. What is a special resolution? A special resolution is a resolution passed by special majority. Then what is ordinary legislation or ordinary resolution or simple resolution? Tell me, what is simple resolution by writing in the chat box? What is simple resolution? Okay, let me tell you that as I told that Rajya Sabha by passing a special resolution can create a new All India service, a new under Article 3(1) to 312, a new All India service. Okay, tell me what are the examples of All India service? How many All India services do we have today? How many All India services do we have? No, we have three All India services. IAS. I'm talking about All India services. I'm not talking about central services and what are the exams that UPSC conducts. So I'm talking All India services. So today we have three All India services. One IAS, one is IPS, and one is IFOS. That is Indian Forest Service. All the other like IFS, that is Indian Foreign Service, Indian Economic Service, Internal Revenue Service. All these are central services, not All India services. We have three All India services. So these three All India services are IAS, IPS, and IFOS. That is Indian Forest Service. So this is the thing. So even Rajya Sabha has power under Article 312 to create a new All India service. It can tell the parliament, it can empower the parliament that parliament can create a new All India service like IAS, IPS, and IFOS. Okay, by passing a special resolution. So what is a special resolution? Special resolution means a resolution passed by special majority. A resolution passed by special majority is called a special resolution, and a resolution passed by, you can say, simple majority is called simple resolution. Simply. Now I hope you understood what do we mean by special resolution and simple resolution. So I hope you understood. Yes, yes. So this is the thing that special resolution means a resolution passed by a house by a special majority. What is a special majority? That is 2/3 of the members present in voting. We will talk about the majority, and we have talked about all types of majority, like special majority, effective majority, simple majority. Special majority is in various flavors. Then ordinary majority or simple majority, absolute majority. So these type of things that we have to know. Okay, so if a house passes a resolution by special majority, that is 2/3 of the members present in voting, then it is called special resolution. So Rajya Sabha by passing a special resolution can empower parliament to create, can empower the parliament to create a new All India service like IAS, IPS, and IFOS. Okay, and what is the power of our Lok Sabha in this? Lok Sabha simply has to accept by simple majority, accept this decision by of the Rajya Sabha by simple majority, or you can say ratified by the Lok Sabha by simple majority, or agreed by the Lok Sabha, rather agreed by the Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha by a special majority passes a resolution in this regard, and Lok Sabha simply accepts it by simple majority, simply accepts, and then a new All India service can be created. So this is the power. This is the power that is exclusively available to Rajya Sabha. Why this power has been given to Rajya Sabha? Because of India being federal in structure. Federal in structure. So how do all India services violate federalism? So that we need these are you can say, how do these all India services are you can say compromising federalism, so that we are needing, or we need the acceptance of Rajya Sabha, because you know that these all India service individuals, they are appointed by the center. They are appointed by the center. Their service conditions, their perks, salaries, and all these things are given by the center, but they function in the states. And when they function in the states, sometimes it is alleged that these all India service individuals, they function as satellite, or eyes and ears of the central government in the states. So what happens in the states, they tell to the central government, and this is the reason that states sometimes they even say that we don't need all India service individuals, these IAS, IPS, and IFOS. We can take law and order. You can say, you know that law and order is the state subject. So how an all India service individual, how a central service individual can you can say have a power in this regard? But this is a provision, though it is violating federal structure, or it is compromising federal structure rather. But we have these provisions because India is though federal in structure, but it is unitary in spirit. So this is the thing that we have to know, that these all India service individuals are regarded as satellites of the central government, eyes and ears of the central government, and due to their appointment in the states, it somewhat compromises the federal structure. And this is the reason that you know that Rajya Sabha represents federal structure at the central level. So the acceptance of Rajya Sabha or prior permission of Rajya Sabha is required to create a new All India service. So I hope you understood this. Now let's come to the next provision, next special power of Rajya Sabha. The next special power of Rajya Sabha is Article 249. Article 249 of Indian Constitution. So what does Article 249 talks about? So the Article 249, you know that there are three lists: state list, central list, and concurrent list or union list. The central list means union list and concurrent list. Why? Why do we have three lists? Because there is doctrine of separation of power or distribution of power, because India is federal in structure. So we have three lists under Schedule 7, 7th schedule. And you know that in the provision of distribution of power, in state list, on the subjects mentioned under state list, only state legislature can make a law. State legislature. Under union list, only the union legislature, that is parliament, can make a law, can legislate. And under concurrent list, both parliament along with the state legislature can frame a law. So what happens that, what is the special power given to Rajya Sabha is that under Article 249, even, but you know that even parliament can legislate on state list subject. Parliament can legislate. Parliament, you know that India is unitary in spirit, and Indian Constitution, though it is federal in structure, but it is considered unitary in spirit, and it is amphibian in character. Amphibian. Indian Constitution or Indian polity is amphibian in character. Okay, tell me, why do we say that Indian polity is amphibian in character? Amphibian means that can change its form. That can change its form. Can change its form. Sometimes it is unitary, sometimes it is federal. So why do we say that Indian Constitution is amphibian in character? Because Indian Constitution in normal times is federal in structure, completely federal in normal times, in ordinary times, in simple times. But in ordinary times, it is completely federal. Ordinary times, ordinary circumstances, it is federal. But in times of emergency, it becomes unitary, completely unitary. State government is suspended, the power to legislate on state subject comes under the parliament. So these are the features of, you can say, unitary constitution. Okay, that is union becomes all powerful. So we are saying here that in case of emergency, Indian Constitution being amphibian in character, in case of emergency, in case of extraordinary circumstances, the power to legislate on state list also comes under parliament, comes to parliament. Parliament can legislate on state list subject also in case of extraordinary, ordinary or exceptional circumstances, exceptional, like emergency. But even Rajya Sabha has been given power. Rajya Sabha, representing the federal character of the Indian Constitution, Indian polity. Rajya Sabha under Article 249 even can empower the parliament, can empower. So Rajya Sabha can empower parliament, that parliament can legislate on state list subject even in normal circumstances. Parliament can legislate on state list subject, on state list subject, state list subject in ordinary circumstances also. Ordinary, that is normal circumstances, that is normal period, normal situations, circumstances where there is no emergency. You know that in normal circumstances, normal situations, state list subject will be handled by the state legislature. That is the law made on the state list will be made by the state legislature. On union list, parliament, and on the concurrent list, both. But here in extraordinary circumstances, or here and in extraordinary circumstances, even parliament can make a law on state legislature also. Okay. While in case of you can say, but Rajya Sabha has been given power under Article 249 that Rajya Sabha can legislate in normal circumstances also, ordinary circumstances also on state list subject. For that, you have to take the prior permission of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, by passing a special resolution, can empower the parliament that yes, parliament can legislate on state list subject even in normal circumstances also. So this is the second special power that is available with the Rajya Sabha. Now let's come to the third special power that is available with the Rajya Sabha. Third special power available with the Rajya Sabha, and it is in the form of Article 67 Clause B. So what is this Article 67 Clause B? It relates to removal of Vice President. Removal of Vice President. You know that Vice President is, you can say, de facto, or you can say de jure chairman of, you can say, in officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. So Vice President is in officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. In officio means by the virtue of being Vice President, he is the ultimate chairperson of Rajya Sabha. So how Vice President can be removed even during his tenure? This procedure has been given under you can say Article 67B. And you know that Vice President chairs is the chairperson of Rajya Sabha that represents federalism in India, federal polity, federal structure. So this is the reason that the removal of Vice President is the power to remove the Vice President rests with Rajya Sabha. So power to remove Rajya Sabha, to remove you can say Vice President rests with Rajya Sabha. That Rajya Sabha alone under the provisions mentioned under Article 67 Clause B, procedures mentioned under Article 67 Clause B, can remove Vice President. What is the procedure? The procedure is Rajya Sabha by giving him a notice of 14 days. So by giving the Vice President so that he can explain his position. So if he has violated the constitution, he has, you can say, not stick to the constitution, so he can be, you can say, removed. So there are some grounds mentioned in constitution that Vice President can be removed. Okay, and what is the procedure? But what is the power of Rajya Sabha in the removal of Vice President is that Rajya Sabha, by passing a resolution by effective majority. Now there is mentioning of effective majority. What is effective majority? I'll tell you. So effective majority, okay, and agreed by, that is simple majority, agreed by the Lok Sabha, by simple majority can remove the Vice President. So can remove Vice President. So to remove the Vice President of India, the power to remove Vice President of India rests solely with the, you can say, Rajya Sabha. So this is the thing, remove Vice President, and that too by effective majority. So what is effective majority? Effective majority means, you can say, more than 50% of effective strength of the house. Effective strength of the house. So just you have to remember that effective majority means more than 50% of effective strength. And what is effective strength? Total strength, that is total membership of the house, minus vacancy. Vacancy due to death, vacancy due to removal, vacancy due to, you can say, any other reasons, like due to removal, due to resignation, due to you can say death. So total minus vacancy is equal to effective strength, and more than 50% of effective strength becomes effective majority. And the chairperson of Rajya Sabha, that is vice president, is removed by effective majority under Article 67 Clause B, and that is a special power solely available with the Rajya Sabha. So these are some of the special powers that rest only with the Rajya Sabha. Now let's come to the criticism of Rajya Sabha. What is the criticism of Rajya Sabha? Why Rajya Sabha? Some scholars say that we should abolish Rajya Sabha because Rajya Sabha has become secondary chamber. Rajya Sabha is inferior to Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha has no relevance today. So we should not have a house that is no longer relevant. And even Rajya Sabha has become a, you can say, house for failed politicians, disgruntled politicians, a house for disgruntled failed politicians, or old age home, like an old age home for the failed politicians, for the disgruntled politicians, or for the old politicians. So we should no longer need Rajya Sabha. So let's talk about whether this you can say conclusion is very valid or not, whether these grounds are valid or not, whether these you can say criticism are valid or not with respect to Rajya Sabha. So some people say Rajya Sabha should be abolished. So let's talk about criticism of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha. So what are the criticism of Rajya Sabha? First criticism of Rajya Sabha is that it functions as a stumbling block. That is, it stops the legislative process. So it functions as a stumbling block. That is, you can say, hindrance in legislative process. So some people say that the first criticism of Rajya Sabha is that it functions as a stumbling block. That is a hindrance that stops the process of you can say legislative process. It most of the time it functions as hindrance because government is not in majority most of the time in Rajya Sabha, and due to this the opposition party they do not let any function, any legislative process go through the Rajya Sabha. Okay, and they, you can say, stall the proceedings of Rajya Sabha. They start screaming at their top of the voice. They throw the, you can say, chairs at each other. So all these things, all these allegations are leveled on the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so we should abolish this Rajya Sabha. Why do we need a house that does not function properly and that does not let the legislative process go smoothly? So this is the thing. This is the first allegation. This is the first criticism of Rajya Sabha, that most of the time it functions as a stumbling block. Okay, and due to this we should abolish Rajya Sabha. Let me give you an example. You know that GST was you can say the GST Act was passed in, you can say, 2017 ultimately, after nearly 60 years of delay. Why after 60 years of delay? Not 60 years, but we can say that the process of having a integrated, you can say, taxation system for indirect taxes was started in 1970s. So if you consider 1970s, then also it becomes 50 years, so nearly 5 decades. Okay, so there was a delay of 50 years. Why? Because to implement GST, to have a indirect tax reform like GST, we needed The government needed a smooth function of the both the houses. So it was getting passed in the, you can say, Lok Sabha, but in the Rajya Sabha it was not getting passed. Why? Because in Rajya Sabha most of the time government is in minority. Okay, and opposition party do not let any function go on. So people label all these allegations against Rajya Sabha. That let see what happened to GST. GST was delayed already by 5 decades due to this Rajya Sabha, because Rajya Sabha did not let GST pass through, go through it. So these things are there, these allegations are there. Second allegation is that, so first allegation is it functions as a stumbling block, that is as a hindrance, okay, in the path of legislative process. Now, the second allegation is that it has become retirement home, retirement home, retirement home to the failed politicians, retirement home to the old politician, to the old politician, old politicians. Whenever a politician does not get elected, if he fails in getting elected to Lok Sabha, or if he has become too old to contest the election, he is, you can say, placed in Rajya Sabha. He is, you can say, by the parties, he is placed or she is placed in the Rajya Sabha as a veteran politician in the Rajya Sabha, whether by the way of nomination or whether by the way of indirect election. That is the process of, you can say, election to Rajya Sabha. So this has become retirement home of old politicians. Sometimes we say that the annoyed politicians, the disgruntled, or you can say a placement home, a placement, you can say home to disgruntled, that is annoyed, angry, disgruntled or angry politicians from the party, from the parties. We see that sometime a politician or a legislator is a, you can say, a politician of a you can say honorary veteran member of a party is annoyed, is angry with his party because his party did not let him become minister. So he becomes annoyed. So what is happened as a placement to keep him satisfied? What happens that that politician is you can say given the membership of Rajya Sabha and placed in the Rajya Sabha. So this has become a placement home like thing to disgruntled or angry politician from the parties. Okay, so this is the thing. This is the second. It has become a retirement home to the old politicians. Some people say, some critics say. So critics say. So these are the things that we have to remember. For example, let me give you the example. Let me give you the example of, you can say, many people. You know that Mr. Arun Jaitley, Mr. Arun Jaitley. You know that Mr. Arun Jaitley lost 2014 Lok Sabha elections. Lok Sabha elections. And when late Mr. Arun Jaitley, yes, now he is no more. So with due respect, Mr. late Arun Jaitley, he lost 2014 Lok Sabha election, but he was made the, you can say, finance minister and corporate minister and all these things. Yes, Lal Raj Mishra also, so we know that. Okay, so Mr. Late Arun Jaitley, he lost election in 2014 election, but he was made a finance minister, he was made the corporate minister and all these things, company affairs minister. Okay, and if you are being made a minister, so within 6 months you have to take the membership of either of the houses. And when you have to take the membership of either of the houses and you have lost the lower chamber, then you have to take the membership of the upper houses. So he was given the membership of Rajya Sabha. So he was given the membership of Rajya Sabha. In the same way, there are many people like if you talk about Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, a disgruntled politician from a party. So Mr. Scindia, when he was disgruntled with the his parent political party, what happened? He left his party. And when he left his party, he came to a new party. And when he came to a new party, he was given the, you can say, membership of Rajya Sabha. He was nominated to Rajya Sabha. So these are the things, these are the criticisms, these are the allegations leveled against Rajya Sabha, that Rajya Sabha has become a retirement home. It has become a placement home or placement, you can say, like thing pressment company like thing to disgruntled or angry politicians of the parties. So this is the thing that this is the second criticism. Now let's come to the third criticism. The third criticism of leveled against the Rajya Sabha is that, and duly we should refute all these criticism also, try to refute at least all these criticism also. So the third criticism is that the functions, you can say it is inferior. Rajya Sabha is inferior to Lok Sabha, or some people also say that it has become a secondary chamber. Secondary chamber. Why do we say that Rajya Sabha is inferior to Lok Sabha, or it has become a secondary chamber? Let me give some examples. First, let me give the example of money bill, a money bill. Let me give the example of, you can say, ordinary bills. Ordinary bills. Let me give the example of, you can say, budget. Budget. And in budget, let me give the example of, you can say, appropriation bill. Appropriation bill and finance bill. Not financial bill, it is finance bill. So let me give the example of this thing. Let me give one more example of different motions, like no confidence motion. So different motions. Let me give the examples of motions, like no confidence motion, no confidence motion, like confidence motion, like you can say cut motions. So let me give the example of these things. Okay, especially policy cut, especially policy cut. So there are three cut motions: policy cut, token cut, and you can say policy cut, token cut, and symbolic cut. So we will talk about that. These cut motions when we will talk about the budget in the parliament chapter itself. So these are there are cut motions. Okay, so we will talk about this, that in case of motions also, parliament somewhat appears to have an inferior role. This is the thing. Now there are, so these are the things where apparently it looks like that Rajya Sabha has inferior role than the Lok Sabha in comparison to the Lok Sabha. How? Let me tell you. First, money bill. You know that a money bill, any bill that government feels that cannot go through Rajya Sabha. In Rajya Sabha, it will be defeated. Then what government do? The speaker declares the bill to be money bill, so that the government can bypass the Rajya Sabha. And the speaker declares, the speaker has a discretionary power that he can declare a bill a money bill. Okay, so most of the time the decision of the speaker cannot be challenged in any court of law. So this is the discretionary power given to the speaker. So speaker, if government feels that I cannot get through this bill, I cannot let this bill go through Rajya Sabha because I have minority in the Rajya Sabha, I have minority members in the Rajya Sabha, or I have not majority in the Rajya Sabha. So what government does? Government modifies this bill in the form of money bill, and the speaker declares this bill to be money bill. And you know that money bill does not need to be passed by Rajya Sabha. Whether Rajya Sabha passes this money bill does not matter. Whether it rejects money bill does not matter. Whether it amends money bill, amendment is not accepted by the Lok Sabha, does not matter. Okay, so these things are there, that government to bypass Rajya Sabha, because government always has majority in Lok Sabha, but government most of the time have minority in Rajya Sabha. So what government does? Government to bypass Rajya Sabha, it modifies a bill to be money bill, and speaker declares that bill as money bill because he has discretionary power, she has discretionary power, and this bill is you can say passed in the Lok Sabha and agreed by the Lok Sabha or rejected by the Lok Sabha, does not matter. So this is the thing, that in case of money bill, Rajya Sabha is inferior power, that money bills does not need to be passed by Rajya Sabha, does not need to be passed by Rajya Sabha, need to be passed by Rajya Sabha. And let me give you a very good example. You know that there was Aadhaar bill. And you know that government was trying to pass Aadhaar from 2014 itself. Government was trying to pass the Aadhaar Act from 2014 itself, but it was getting defeated in the Rajya Sabha because in Rajya Sabha, government does not had a majority. So the bill was getting defeated in the Rajya Sabha. It could not get the acceptance of Rajya Sabha. So what government did? Government modified some of the provisions and Aadhaar Act was passed as money bill. Why it was passed as money bill? Because a money bill does not need to be passed by the Rajya Sabha. So it was passed by the Lok Sabha simply. So this is the thing. While people are criticizing that Aadhaar bill should not be a money bill, why? Because Aadhaar not only relates to the money matters or fiscal matters. So what is a money bill? In simple terms, a money bill is a bill that is relates to the fiscal matters, that is financial matters. Okay, we'll talk about money bill in Parliament chapter itself in great detail in subsequent lecture. But let me tell you that it was passed as money bill, but most of the many scholars, many you can say legislators, many scholars, and even opposition parties have raised that this Aadhaar should not be a money bill because Aadhaar not only relates to money matters, even it relates to privacy matters. It appears to somewhat you can say violate the privacy, and right to privacy under Article 21 is now a fundamental right. You know that. So even it you can say somewhat affects the fundamental right also. So it should not be a money bill. Privacy. It relates to biometric details. It relates to you can say biological details and biometric details and personal details. So all these things Aadhaar relates to. So Aadhaar ideally should not be a money bill. At least it should be a financial bill. And you know that apart from money bill, apart from ordinary bill, even if it is a financial bill, then it should be passed by both the houses, that too by simple majority and all these things. So some people are even saying these things. And this is a classic example of how parliament, or you can say how government bypasses Rajya Sabha by declaring any bill, by modifying its provisions, and you can say by declaring any bill to be money bill. So this is the thing. And seeing this, most of the many critics say that Rajya Sabha has no role in these things, no power regarding these things, so Rajya Sabha should be abolished. Second thing is ordinary bill. What happens in ordinary bill? You know that in case of ordinary bill, the provision is something different. What happens? An ordinary bill has to be passed by both Lok Sabha also, Rajya Sabha also. So suppose there was an ordinary bill, okay? Any bill, if it is not an constitutional amendment bill, if it is not a money bill, then it is an ordinary bill. So any bill that is not neither a constitutional amendment bill, neither a money bill is said to be ordinary bill, because there are three types of bills only. Okay, so this was the thing. That ordinary bill means any bill that is not constitutional amendment bill and neither an ordinary bill. So what happened? Suppose an ordinary bill, government introduces an ordinary bill, and government being in majority, most of the time ordinary bills are passed in Lok Sabha. But what happens? What happens in Rajya Sabha? Suppose Rajya Sabha, it is getting defeated. So what will happen? Now government wants to pass this, eager to pass this bill, get this bill go through. So what? In case of ordinary bill, government can summon joint sitting of both the houses. Joint sitting. What does joint sitting means? Joint sitting means the members of the both the houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, will sit together and they will pass the bill, and it will be called the bill will be called to be passed. So joint sitting. That ordinary bill, in case of ordinary bill, joint sitting is there. That Lok Sabha, if Lok Sabha passes the ordinary bill, in Rajya Sabha the bill is getting defeated, then there will be a joint sitting. And you know that in Lok Sabha government is always in majority, and you know that Lok Sabha has 552 members, or at present 545 members, and Rajya Sabha has just 250 members, or at present 245 members. So what happens? What happens? Lok Sabha has numerical superiority, and being Lok Sabha being numerically superior, Lok Sabha being numerically superior, what happens that this in the joint sitting, Lok Sabha has an edge. So Lok Sabha has an edge, a benefit, and due to this bill gets passed as per the requirement of the government, as per the wishes of the government. So this bill, government wishes is fulfilled, and this bill is passed. So somewhat it is also, joint sitting is also bypassing Rajya Sabha. Bypassing Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha has inferior role in case of ordinary bill also. So people say that Even see in ordinary bills also Rajya Sabha has inferior role. Now let's come to the budget. Third thing, that is budget. What happens in budget? The budget, in budget, the you know the budget is mentioned as annual financial statement under article annual financial statement. Annual financial statement under article 112. So budget in article 112 has been declared or has been pronounced as annual financial statement. And the annual financial statement, what happens? That this budget annual financial statement is the, you can say, profit and loss account or balance sheet of, it contains balance sheet of the government, balance sheet of the economy. So what is annual financial statement? It is balance sheet of the government or the economy or the whole economy. That what are the assets of the government, what are the, you can say, what are the expenditures of the government, what is the revenue of the government, what are the liabilities of the government, what are the assets of the government. So this is the thing that annual financial statement, that in normal terms we say budget. It has two parts. One part is appropriation bill and one part is finance bill. Appropriation bill relates to, budget is classified into two bills. One appropriation bill that relates to expenditure, that is expenses of the government, expenditure, and finance bill relates to revenue. Finance bill relates to revenue part, and this is the thing that we know. So budget relates to appropriation bill and finance bill. Appropriation bill relates to expenditure and finance bill relates to revenue. And you know that appropriation bill and finance bill both are considered money bills. So appropriation bill and finance bill both are money bills, and you know that money bills are not required to be passed by Rajya Sabha. They are just introduced in Lok Sabha, they are passed by Lok Sabha, and they are just agreed by the Rajya Sabha. So in this case also Rajya Sabha has secondary role or inferior role, and this is the reason why people say that, why critics say that even in case of budget also, in case of appropriation bill and finance bill also, Rajya Sabha has inferior role, and due to this Rajya Sabha should be abolished. Now let's come to, so these are the criticism of Rajya Sabha. Now let's come to, let's try to refute the criticism of Rajya Sabha. Yes, I have already told that Rajya Sabha is not only an inferior chamber or secondary chamber, even Rajya Sabha has some special power. So let's refute those criticism. Try to at least refute those criticism. Refute the criticism. And if we have to refute the criticism of Rajya Sabha, that if you have to do away the criticism of Rajya Sabha, we have to take into account the special powers of Rajya Sabha. Special powers. We know that yes, Rajya Sabha in some cases it has secondary role, or it has become a secondary chamber. It has inferior role than the Lok Sabha in case of secondary or inferior role in case of some of the rules, in case of some of the provisions like money bill, like ordinary bill, like other things. But yes, Rajya Sabha has some special powers also, like under Article 312, under Article 249, under Article 67 Clause B. So these are the provisions, these are the special powers available to Rajya Sabha. So we blindly cannot say that yes, Rajya Sabha has inferior role, so or it has become a secondary chamber, so we should abolish this. Next thing is that there are some other things that make Rajya Sabha very relevant. And if you have to refute those criticism of Rajya Sabha, we have to talk about special powers, and we have to talk about relevance of Rajya Sabha. Relevance of Rajya Sabha. So first relevance of Rajya Sabha is that it has some special power. So Rajya Sabha has some special powers, powers. And what are those special powers available with the Rajya Sabha? We have talked about that under Article 312, 249, 67 Clause B, and all these things. And the next thing to make Rajya Sabha relevant, we have to talk about is that there are some other provisions. So other features of Rajya Sabha, sorry, other features of Rajya Sabha that make Rajya Sabha relevant. So let's talk about those other features that make Rajya Sabha relevant. Let me take a new slide. So here, relevance of Rajya Sabha. Relevance of Rajya Sabha. So the first relevance of Rajya Sabha is in case of constitutional amendment bills. Constitutional amendment bills. So in the matters of or with regards to constitutional amendment bills, Rajya Sabha plays an equal role to Lok Sabha. It means Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play an equal role. Why? Because a constitutional amendment bill has to be passed by both. Has to be passed by both the houses. Both the houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha by special majority. By special majority. So a constitutional amendment bill should be passed by Lok Sabha also by special majority and should be passed by Rajya Sabha also by special majority. So in case of constitutional amendment bills, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both have or both play equal role. So here we see that Rajya Sabha is playing equal role to Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is also very relevant. Second point that we can give about the relevance of Rajya Sabha is impeachment. Impeachment motion. Impeachment motion. And here impeachment of whom? Tell me. Whose impeachment we are going to talk about? Who is impeached in case of Indian polity? Which dignitary or which functionary of Indian government is impeached? Write in the comment box. Okay, so the president is only impeached. Other dignitaries are removed, but President of India is impeached. President of India is impeached. So the impeachment term is only used for the President of India. Otherwise, Vice President, all the other dignitaries, all other functionaries are said to be that they are being removed. They are not impeached. Only President of India is impeached, okay, in the Parliament. So this is the thing that in case of impeachment motion, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. Why? Because a resolution to impeach president, resolution as per Article 62, as per Article 62, you can say the president can be impeached by a resolution passed by both the houses of parliament, both the houses by special majority. That is 2/3 of the members present in voting, special majority. And you know that in India, the majority required under Article 62 to impeach president is considered the toughest majority to achieve. And this is the reason that from the independence till now, that is after even 75 years of independence, no president of India has been impeached till now. No president has been impeached. Because it is the toughest majority, and even we don't say that our presidents are liable to be impeached, because our president has been very dignified, very respected, very eminent personalities. So there was no question of impeachment. But yes, despite that, if there is a case of impeachment, the procedure of impeachment is so rigid, so tough, it is the toughest majority to achieve, and so no president has been impeached. and to impeach a president, we require the toughest majority. So this is the thing. And in case of impeachment of the president, in case of resolution to impeach the president of India, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. So here also relevance of Rajya Sabha is obvious. Relevance of Rajya Sabha is very clear. Now let's come to the next thing where Rajya Sabha plays equal role. So the next is the fourth thing where Rajya Sabha plays equal role in case of financial bills. Financial, this is not finance bill, because finance bill is what? Finance bill is a money bill and it is a part of budget. So finance bill is a money bill. Finance bill is money bill. And in case of money bill, Rajya Sabha has inferior role or secondary role. But in case of financial bills, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. So in case of financial bills, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. So this is the thing. And what is financial bill? Financial bill is a bill that not only relates to many matters or fiscal matters, money or fiscal matters, even it relates to other matters also. It relates to other matters also. So along with fiscal matters, it relates to other matters like taxation matters, to levy or to remove taxes or to reduce the taxes and all these things. So taxation matters or privacy matters or any other thing. And this was the reason that why many people were saying that at least you can say Aadhaar bill should be a money a finance bill. It should not be at least money bill. It should have been at least Aadhaar bill or Aadhaar Act or Aadhaar bill should have been introduced in the parliament at least as a financial bill, not as constitutional amendment bill, but as a financial bills. Financial bills. So this is the thing that people are saying. Why? Because in case of financial bills, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role, because it has to be passed by ordinary majority in both the houses. Though it has to be passed by ordinary majority, but in both the houses separately, and there is no joint sitting. So in both the houses separately. So this is the thing that this is the fourth reason why Rajya Sabha is also very relevant, and it is not inferior, it is not secondary chamber, it is the second chamber of the parliament. What do we mean by secondary chamber and what do we mean by second chamber? If we say secondary chamber, so secondary means inferior, that it is inferior to Lok Sabha. It has a lower role, lower rank than Lok Sabha. So it is inferior. But when we say second chamber means it is equal to Lok Sabha, but it is the next level of the parliament. So next level, or you can say subsequent level of Lok Sabha. After Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha comes. So this is the thing that we have to take into account. Now let's come to the next point about which Rajya Sabha plays an equal role to Lok Sabha. The next thing is emergency. So in case of emergency provisions also, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role, because to proclaim emergency, after the proclamation of emergency, the ratification is required. Proclamation, the ratification is required. When the president proclaims the emergency, ratification by the parliament is required, and emergency has to be ratified by simple majority in both the houses. Separately. Both the houses separately. So this is the thing that we have to keep in mind. So in case of emergency, you can say Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both play equal role. So here also Rajya Sabha is very much relevant. So here also Rajya Sabha is very much relevant, because it is playing equal role to Lok Sabha. It is playing equal role to Lok Sabha. It is playing a second chamber. It is functioning as its not secondary, not inferior, but second chamber of parliament. So this is the thing. These are the things that are very much important. So tell me, did you understand what I told up till now? What we discussed up till now, did you understand? Okay, let me tell you some more points regarding relevance of Rajya Sabha. So let's talk about some more points. Some more points with respect to relevance of Rajya Sabha. First, you know that Rajya Sabha represents federal character. Federal character. So if you abolish Rajya Sabha, the federal character of Indian Constitution or Indian polity shall vanish. So it represents federal character. And you know that most of the time in the Rajya Sabha, government is in minority. Government is in, that is executives or the government is in minority. And when government is in minority, then in case of constitutional amendment bills, in case of finance bills, in case of emergency, in case of you can say other things, you can say government has to take into account the support of Rajya Sabha also. And when being in minority, what government does, government starts, you can say, including regional parties, state parties to take them into confidence. And so bargaining took place. Bargaining takes place. Bargaining takes place. Like let me tell you, in case of GST, when GST was to be passed, it was passed in Lok Sabha, then it had to be passed by Rajya Sabha. So what government did? Government started talking to regional parties because government knew that yes, I am in minority in Rajya Sabha, so opposition members will not let me pass this bill. So what government did? Government you can say started, you can say taking into confidence the regional parties, the state political parties, the state parties. And who are these regional and state parties? They represent federal character. They represent federalism. They are the composition, they are the components of federal character of Indian polity. So when government, the central government takes into account, talks to these these regional parties, state parties, it this function strengthens federalism, strengthens federal character of India, and bargaining takes place. Bargaining takes place. So this is the thing, and this is the reason why we say that Rajya Sabha is very relevant, very important, very much. It is equal to you can say Lok Sabha because it represents federal character. And if we abolish Rajya Sabha, the federal character of Indian polity shall vanish from the you can say central level. So this is the thing. Next, second provision that makes Rajya Sabha very much relevant, okay, is the second provision that makes Rajya Sabha very much relevant is the nominated members. We saw that how government is nominating the members, nominating members to Rajya Sabha. So we have criticized that government is nominating to Rajya Sabha only those members who have failed politicians, who are failed politicians. It has become a retirement home. It has become a placement home for disgruntled politicians. Okay. So these things, these were the grounds we criticized Rajya Sabha. But let me talk about some positive points about nomination also. You know that there are some scholars, there are some people, there are some eminent personalities, whose experience has to be tapped, whose experience and knowledge has to be tapped, that is utilized in parliamentary system, So what happens? But these people, these eminent personalities cannot win election. They are not winnable candidates. If they you can say contest election, they will lose. So they are not winnable. They cannot go through the dust of the parliamentary elections. They cannot go through the muds of the Indian political structure, mud of Indian politics. They cannot go through the dust of Indian politics. So they are not winnable. They are not contestable. So what happens there? This nomination process of Rajya Sabha. The nomination to Rajya Sabha provides them opportunity that these people, government shall, you can say, nominate those people who are experienced, who have some special experience, who have some special expertise, and who have, you can say, who are very eminent, and their experience should be tapped by the in the legislative process. So what government does? Government nominates them. President nominates them to Rajya Sabha, and their experience, their expertise, their, you can say, knowledge is tapped in legislative process, so that our laws can be standardized. We can frame good laws, we can frame standard laws, we can frame, you can say, we can frame the laws for the benefit of the larger sections of the population, that is the people. So this is the thing. Let me give the example, some 2-3 example. You know that there was a person, you know that recently, let me give you a recent example. Mr. Ranjan Gogoi. Mr. Ranjan Gogoi. There was a lot of hue and cry about their nomination to Rajya Sabha also. Yes, there were some, you can say, disputes. But yes, let's talk about the positive aspect of nomination of Mr. Ranjan Gogoi, who is retired Chief Justice of India. Okay, so when Mr. Ranjan Gogoi was appointed or nominated to Rajya Sabha, there was a lot of hue and cry that government is giving quid pro quo. Some opposition members also said that this is a classic case of quid pro quo. What do we mean by quid pro quo? That he has benefited the government by his decisions when he was Chief Justice of India. Now government is rewarding him. So a reward. So this was the thing. Okay, but let's talk about the positive. This was a criticism, major criticism, that after just retirement, even the retirement, he has not been retired for even 6 months. Even just after the 3 months after his retirement, 2 months after his retirement, he was nominated to Rajya Sabha. So there was a lot of hue and cry. But let's talk about the positive aspects of Mr. Ranjan Gogoi being nominated as Rajya Sabha. He has been what? He has been a legal luminary. He had been the Chief Justice of India. So he is well versed in law, well versed in, you can say, legislations, well versed in, you can say, legislative structures. So what will happen if we nominate him to Rajya Sabha? We can take the advantage of his expertise in law. We can take the advantage of his, uh, you can say, eminence of law. He's being eminent law personality. So this was the major point. The government said that we are nominating Mr. Ranjan Gogoi because he had been Chief Justice of India. He is very much well versed in, you can say, law, well versed in law. So we can take advantage, we can take benefit, we can gain benefit from his experience, knowledge, and expertise. So this was the thing. Yes, this is very much important point. Okay, but what was the contentious issue about his nomination was that there should be a cooling off period. Otherwise it will, you can say, place a very bad precedence that every judge or every, you can say, legislator or every judicial member shall toe the line of the government, and because he will think that after retirement government will nominate to Rajya Sabha, government will give me the positions and all these things. So there should be a cooling off period. At least there should be a 2 or 3 years cooling off period, that after retirement, yes, you can be nominated, but not instantly, not, you can say, immediately. There should be a cooling off period of at least 2 or 3 years. Then you can be appointed, or at least 1 year, at least cooling off period. But he was, if you talk about Mr. Ranjan Gogoi, he was nominated to Rajya Sabha just, you can say, after his retirement. Even maximum two months were not elapsed. So this was the thing. This was the major contention, and this was the reason that why opposition members were saying that this was a classic case of quid pro quo. But from the point of view of relevance to Rajya Sabha, the nomination of members to Rajya Sabha, the power of nomination to members to Rajya Sabha is very much important. Why? Because it provides opportunity to those eminent personalities, so that we can benefit from their experience, their expertise, their knowledge, okay, in legislative process. So now this is the thing. So we will stop here because you know the obvious reason, and we have done this. Now we'll talk about next things, but in next class, next lecture. Thank you. Have a nice day.